Welcome back, everyone. I am very pleased to introduce today's third demo of our Demo Day event with ELB Learning. Embrace the AI paradigm shift. Empower your team today. Scott Provence, the Senior Learning Strategist at ELB Learning, is going to guide us through this demo. So, Scott, I'm going to pass it over to you to take it away.
Thanks so much, Alexandria. Thanks to ATD for setting this up. I'm really excited to talk with everyone today. And just to confirm, you can hear me okay? Thumbs up. Close enough. All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to. There's a thumb up. Awesome. Yeah, excited to talk with everyone today. And I think, like you've probably already been doing, as conversation points come up or as questions come up, drop them into the chat. I'm really excited to keep this as conversational as possible. I'm going to put my own email in the chat as well, just so I don't forget now. So I know that some like blasting questions out to everyone. Others wanna send me something on the side later on or after things have percolated. So you're welcome to do that as well. Today, yeah, I'm excited to talk a little bit about this large topic known as AI and what some of the different pieces mean to different teams. I'm excited to hear from folks where they're at in this process of exploring and discovering AI. Looks like we've got, yeah, thanks, Alexandria, some folks curious about AI ethics, what ELB Learning is doing, not only with ethics in general, but ensuring that generative AI is ethical and responsible. So great, not only great question about the topic of ethics, but we introduced a term here, Gen AI, and so I'm eager to start probing and exploring from different folks today where they are at in that understanding of what generative AI is and how that's different from, say, traditional machine learning models. So those are some of the things that we can explore today, that and a lot more. Really briefly, to introduce myself, so I am part of ELB Learning. I lead the consulting team here. So my background is very much in learning and development strategy. I've done that both externally as well as in-house with a lot of different companies. I led L&D at Google Health. I worked with a lot of different tech startups and behavioral health startups. I've also got a little bit of a background in NLP algorithms. I developed some soft skill algorithms and metrics that I can show a little bit later. So this hybrid very much of artificial intelligence as a technical capability, but also what does that mean in the larger scope of people and talent development, HR, L&D, some of these traditional functions. If you haven't heard of ELB Learning, I won't spend too much time on this here, but again, happy to talk more about what ELB Learning is doing in this space, which is very exciting. Lots of different programs and partnerships that we're working with. And again, my focus with my team is really to figure out how can we act not only as a provider of technological solutions, but also a thought partner for your long-term strategy. And again, I really do think, especially with a topic as complex and ever evolving and emergent as AI, really having a thought partner in place to help figure out what are my people actually asking for and how can I not just throw a new solution or a new tool over the fence to them, but make sure that it's addressing the problems that they're having day to day. So if you're having problems, questions, challenges within the AI space, again, maybe related to ethics, maybe related to how do I implement something like this, maybe related to I don't even know where to start, drop them in the chat, reach out to me, do both. I'm excited to talk through all of those things. So where I'm actually going to start, I've done lots of AI presentations, especially over the last year, and something that I kind of threw up as a early slide placeholder actually got some of the most attention, which is just an overview of the landscape and breaking down some of the distinctions between some of these keywords we're hearing: Gen AI, generative AI, general AI, traditional ML, deep learning networks, large language models. People would often come up to me after my talks and say, can you show me that slide that just had like the layers there? So I wanted to put this in, and if this is remedial or refreshers for some of you, apologies for the 3-minute foray. For those of you that feel like I can't ask what LLMs are anymore because I'm too far out, hopefully this will help you kind of remind you or reestablish some of the terms and the keywords that we're working with in this space. And I really like to do this, again, not only for your benefit, but for mine, to kind of remind myself where we start, what the biggest circles we draw are, and then what are the subcategories of some of these things. So again, we're here today to talk a lot about AI. That's one of the biggest and broadest bubbles that you could draw. Artificial intelligence, branch of computer science. When you think about all these different types of systems that are designed to mimic human intelligence in some way, yeah, artificial intelligence is probably the best, broadest scope that you could draw here. So let's see, something like an autonomous vehicle has all sorts of different technical subcategories within it, right? It's got robotics, it's got computer vision, it's got algorithmic decision making. But a lot of these things fall within different subsections of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can also include very basic pre-programmed instructions. If I build a little program that plays chess, I might just set up a very basic decision tree for it to follow, and there's nothing more to that program. It's still AI in a sense that it is trying to mimic a chess playing person. But as we get into some of these distinctions, you'll start to see some differences about how our new tools are developing themselves. This next distinction within AI, so a subcategory, is machine learning. So again, different from maybe pre-programmed instructions of artificial intelligence, machine learning gets a little more nuanced. We are now dealing with programs that are looking at large amounts of data and using that data to make predictions or decisions about it. And that learning process of machine learning really depends on how the data is labeled, how I decide to reward those decisions that it's making. But in general, we're now looking at a subsection of AI that is all about, let's read a bunch of data and create some programs that make some predictions or decisions about where we think future data will go. All right, we're going to make our next subsection here. You may have heard a concept of deep learning come up recently. That's driving a lot of our new tools today. When I first heard of that, I wanted to know what's deep learning in opposition to, or what is the counterpoint to deep learning? And we can kind of think about that in terms of traditional machine learning models. So if machine learning is a general category, let's talk traditional machine learning. So simpler algorithms, decision trees, random forest models, some of these things that have been around for a little bit longer. Depending on what we want to do with our data and what we want our programs to do, there are different processes we can use to train that data. I can have supervised learning. I can say, here's 1,000 pictures of dogs and cats that I've labeled, and I want you to analyze them and then decide what are some of the rules that we make to differentiate between dogs and cats. There's unsupervised learning. Here's a bunch of pictures. I don't know what they are of, but I want you to sort through them and come up with some categories. These are different types of processes that we can use to train models here. And traditional machine learning is different from what we're now seeing in the field of deep learning. This deep refers to these neural networks, these layers, and this technology that is really designed to mimic the human brain. And what's interesting about deep learning is the depth at which we can go, and in some ways, the mystery of how programs can arrive at some of their decisions in a deep learning network compared to traditional machine learning. And just rounding us out here, as we get a little bit deeper, within deep learning, we have generative AI. So again, things like DALL-E image generators, text generators, audio-visual generators. This is now a type of deep learning that can generate types of context. So again, all different types of contexts, whether that's pictures, images, words, videos, based on the data that we're feeding in, it can now generate new things. And then finally, within that smallest subsection here, we have large language models. Again, so if you're coming into this day-to-day or this specific talk saying, well, everyone's talking about ChatGPT, realize that ChatGPT as a large language model is one very small subsection of this entire landscape that we're working within. And I'll explain a little bit about why I like to start here, but hopefully this overview gives you an understanding of not only maybe a specific tool you're looking to implement, but where that tool fits within the larger landscape here. I'll pause really quickly as you absorb all of that. If people have questions or comments that you want to drop in now, hey, can you double click on a specific category or a specific subsection here? Let me know. When you think about things like ethics and responsibility, as you can probably guess, those apply in every single element or every single layer of this. But the way that they're being applied, the questions you might ask could probably differ. What types of conversations are our models having? How is that being sourced? How are those responses being vetted? What are we doing to mitigate biases within these conversations? And how might that be different from a traditional decision tree model that I want to set up? All right. So if questions come in, drop them into the chat. I want to take this next step because I think this is the one where I really want to tie this back into what we're doing today. So empowering our workforce. Um, and again, I want to draw this distinction, not that it's wrong to jump into a new tool, but I really think that as you're considering different tools that you want to apply to your organization or your teams, we think about this landscape and we think about specifically what are the problems or the questions that are going to arise in each of these layers. And when I approach a client or a thought partner who's interested in working through some of these issues, this is one of the most revealing things that we could do. And again, you're welcome to use this. This is a template, but hopefully it will plant some seeds for you about where is my team specifically. So I talk about this as landscaping the AI landscape, right? Because we want to make this landscape area more appealing and more functional to us. And it's helpful to figure out where is my team wandering around in this different landscape? Are we stuck down here in large language models? Are we stuck up here where we don't even know how we're applying AI in our world? This is really important to figure out. I've highlighted one question that I think I hear in each of these areas, and I'll throw them out on the board right here. And I want you to think about which of these areas you might be having similar questions within. So I'll start way up at the top here. Typically, when I have teams asking, what does this all mean? Or maybe even more pointedly, how worried should I be, Scott? This is a great indicator for me that let's zoom all the way back out and talk about what is AI designed to do here in general, in our organization, in our industry. These are the types of questions you might be getting on your team. Again, that hesitancy that maybe this is a change management issue. Maybe this is I don't even know what these terms mean. And so just give me that keyword sheet from Scott's slide that I can just look through. But if you get these kind of questions on your team, that can be good indicators that we got to zoom all the way back out and figure out what is AI designed to be doing? How comfortable is my team in working with this, in understanding some of these terms? That is a very different set of questions than what I get in this machine learning layer. This is typically people saying, well, I'm pretty sure that I want to design or develop, or I've got a team already working on standing up some machine learning programs, or I want to create a new tool to help automate some things. An important question set to look at within this layer is, what is the data that you're working with? And again, asking that up front or having a thought partner help you pull out those answers is really important when it comes to AI ethics and responsibility, right? That's where that starts, is where's your data sets? Is that data clean, reliable? Is it grouped into a big enough set where we have a good range here and we're not going to be introducing biases right out of the front, right out of the gate? This is exactly where we need to start when it comes to understanding ethical and responsible use. Is where is the foundations coming from? Because spoiler alert, even these large language models that we're working with right now, they certainly can have biases, and they certainly need a lot of oversight and understanding without just being implemented right out of the gate. Okay, so you might have some echoes or some things that are getting triggered from your own discoveries or your own conversations with your leadership groups. We're going to keep going. This is another interesting set of questions that I get. Is I want to implement an AI tool, but again, from maybe a responsible use, maybe from a security question. My IT team is giving me fits because they want to make sure that we can explain and control all of the inputs and outputs of this new tool. And this, again, is a very interesting distinction between traditional machine learning models and deep learning machine learning models. Traditional machine learning, like a decision tree, is much easier to control and understand and open up and tinker with all of the different nodes and the black boxes inside. So if you are experiencing a lot of pushback from a security or a responsible use perspective, this might be an area to do a deep dive or a double click into, is how can I explain and control all of these inputs and outputs? This is going to be different from this new world of generative AI and large language models, because the way that these deep learning neural networks are built has a little bit of that black box feel where we can't always understand how these systems reach their conclusions. Perfect. All right, so within deep learning, what's possible today? What's possible tomorrow? This is kind of exciting for us to think about in the grandest scope. When people are interested in what we're doing here, deep learning is a great way to just say, like, this is what's possible right now. And this is kind of that exciting. We're eager. I've got a leadership group that is looking to understand more. This is a really fun space to just say, let's see what's possible out there. And then finally, again, as we get a little bit further, which tasks do my teams automate? This is a lot of what we do at ELB Learning, is helping people figure out what are we actually going to get into. And then finally, I'm going to come back to this last one, but can we have more conversations right now? And this is kind of doing double duty here. Large language models are all about conversations, but this is often where people come to us at the start and saying, can we talk more? What can ELB Learning do for me? So again, different question types. I'm eager to hear, what layers you might be in right now. And then specifically, we'll start talking about what ELB Learning is doing with different groups and clients that come to us with different layers of questions. So I'm just looking through our, Alexandria, anything I'm missing from the chat here so far? Emphasis on natural language. Yes, a great comment here from Russell. Yeah, so some have come to see the emphasis on natural language, making the mastery of language and the logic crucially important. Are you seeing this? Yes, and I think there's a really important distinction for us to make, and understanding for us to make when it comes to the purpose and the potential even limitations of large language models. Large language models are great at conversation. Logic, yes, and it's very important to know how these are built and what limitations from a classification or a logic-based perspective LLMs can run into. Really great question. I won't nerd out too much specifically about that here, but yeah, I love that, Russell. All right, so what is ELB Learning doing now in some of these different areas? Well, again, if we're able to draw out this landscape, and again, I just love doing this even we can do this in a half-hour consulting call. Just get your team on the ground and let's figure out where we are in this landscape. If we can identify, for example, we are in this, what does it mean, and my team is super worried landscape, this is a great spot for us. We can say, okay, we know where we are. Thanks for that initial setup. Let's now figure out what we can do to help get people from a I'm very uncomfortable state into a I know what is out there and I know a little bit about what I need to be doing with this state. This is where something like our AI IQ workshop comes into play. This is something we do on it can be short as 1 hour with the team. It can be as in-depth as 3 hours with the team. And it's something that we can really scale to your team to figure out, do we start all the way back at the beginning? Again, like what AI is? Do we jump into a internal instance you have of your own GPT function and we help people understand how to prompt engineer? But this is really, again, starting with that broadest perspective and then tailoring it to your team to figure out what are the perceptions of AI across your organization and how comfortable are your teams in using this today. What we're seeing in this space is pretty impactful and heartening to see. Again, when we're talking about kind of the initial concepts of something like artificial intelligence and comfort levels within your team, this is great to see. We had, I think our N was maybe like 800 folks, something like that at this point. That we're able to see this very uncomfortable. So again, thanks to your leadership kind of deciding, yes, we are in this right space. Let's have this workshop. We have a very uncomfortable group that after this workshop feels mostly or very comfortable with the concepts and applications of AI in the world today. Pause really quickly to see if there's other questions coming through. It looks like I'm good on the chat. Oh, good. I'm glad people like the diagram. Yes, you'll have access to this as we keep thinking through. Okay. No other questions, Alexander? Looks like it's coming up. All right. Perfect. Okay. The other thing that I want to demo here, this is a little bit into that what's possible today and tomorrow. So we've got work with teams that want to just know, can we do a workshop where we get a little bit of a hands-on practice with a chatbot, where we get a little bit of an understanding of the landscape. Now, what do we do with folks that come in and say, we're on cutting edge. We want to get into deep learning. We want to use AI tools in our learning environments. That's something that we have a lot of experience and fun in doing too. And I'll show you a couple examples of what we've done here. And I can actually pull some of these up too. So one of the things we can do in this deep learning AI applicable tools right out of the gate is implementing chat-based feedback into a SCORM-based e-learning package. So again, what you're seeing here, and I know this is sped up, so I'll let it play through a couple of times. You're seeing a SCORM packaged e-learning model that is all about data literacy and helping a learner understand the difference between categorical or quantitative data. So what's an athlete's number of minutes in a commercial versus their jersey number? A couple of examples of data that could be either categorical or quantitative. In a traditional e-learning model, as we all know, I can click yes or no on an answer. I can do a multiple choice test. Maybe I'll get some pre-programmed feedback to come in. If we integrate a large language model chatbot that has been prompt engineered in the background to understand categorical and quantitative data explanations, as the learner types out their answer, they also have a spot to answer why. So explain your answer as to why you think this is categorical and this is quantitative. Then once this gets submitted, we actually can get personalized feedback, not only on the answers category, the learner's category that they selected, but specifically in their reasoning behind it. The reason I'm so excited about this capability is because this is one way to address the half-right answers, the nuanced questions that any personal learning path needs in order to actually get some measurable progress forward. In one of these answers, the learner gets the wrong checkbox, but then kind of answers it right. And based on this chatbot's feedback, based on all of the work we've done on the back end, it actually is able to provide a very nuanced explanation of, well, you didn't get it quite right, but you actually did hit on something that's very important here. I'm eager to hear if others have been using chatbots in e-learning based programs and what their experiences have been. We've found this to be a very scalable way to develop personalized learning paths and something that still can be just SCORM packaged and dropped into an LMS. Yeah, exactly. To Brenda's point, a lot of possibilities here. Basically taking any standardized multiple choice test and saying, let's now create a learning tutor that we can tailor in any way we want. And specific SCORM code, no. So this can basically be, we do customize this. Great question from Carissa. This can be customized. This could also be automated fairly quickly, where we just have a standardized chatbot that we can drop into a system. So yes to both. And if you got specific questions about that, happy to take those offline. Cool. All right. Yes, and we can talk XAPI too. Awesome. Yeah, reach out to me on that as well. These are great questions. I love that these are coming in. Awesome. And yes, absolutely. This is now enhancing critical thinking skills. If you think this is critical thinking, how about this next one? So another example of an application that ELB Learning is doing here. The skills of conversation, leadership, management styles, all of these types of quote unquote soft skills, as we all know, can be really hard to measure. So what does it mean to have good empathy? Thanks to some of these tools of deep learning and machine learning, we actually found a way to quantify that and put that into a system where a learner can go in and, again, through some basic prompt engineering and chatbot work, have an empathetic conversation, responding in whatever way empathy means to them, whatever they think is an empathetic response. And again, working through, I know this is, you probably aren't able to see this on your screen, but this is a character wanting some help with career advice, and the learner is practicing having that management level conversation. What is happening on the right hand here is where a lot of the deep learning networks and machine learning algorithms are going to work here. It is taking each of these learner inputs and evaluating it across 6 evidence-informed categories of empathy. So it's looking for their ability to reflect back certain skills. It's looking at their ability to suspend their own perspective. So this is, again, a program that ELB Learning can implement within your systems as part of your leadership training, management trainings. And based on this live work that your learners can have, they can get not only personalized feedback, but specifically quantifiable feedback that says, here's how each of your responses did in these 6 categories. All right. Last thing I want to talk about, I know we're coming up to time here, and I want to make sure people have a few minutes to ask any other questions. But again, you've seen now some examples of what ELB Learning is doing in kind of general AI workshopping. How can we have a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour workshop just to get people comfortable? What are some of the programs that we can implement on a course specific or topic specific level? The final thing that we will often get in our daily conversations is, well, I've got a large language model. Can I have more conversations with it? What is this tool? I've just got this GPT instance dumped into my lap. What am I supposed to be doing with this? Again, if you are working within some tools right now, this is where me and my team are really excited to jump in and help you figure out what you want to do with this tool. I can't remember who had asked it up front, but this idea of oh yeah, Russell's question. Emphasis on natural language as kind of mastering the language versus mastering the logic models. Again, one of the most important conversations we could have right now is figuring out, what do you want your data and your tools to do? Do you want it to make predictions? Do you want it to make classifications? Those are different routes that need to be solved by different tools here. In this example that I just showed of our ability to create empathy-based soft skill programs for leadership programs or manager 101 trainings, a prediction model is really great at helping you create a chatbot that we could drop into your system to have practice conversations, whether that's a call center practice conversation, whether that's a manager 101 conversation. This is something that is very different from a classification-based model that's saying, what is good listening? What does that look like? What are the examples that we want to train a machine learning algorithm on that is specific to our organization or specific to our industry? And how can we have ELB Learning help us build something like that? All of these things are really nuanced in terms of a conversation, but these are what we're having with a lot of folks today, and would love to have that with you as well. All right, we've got just a couple more minutes, so I want to make sure if there's any other questions that people could have a chance to drop those into the chat. You've got my email. This will take you to a spot where you can grab time with me if you're interested. I'm kind of curious if anyone is interested in voting on our chat here, which of these layers you think you and your team are in right now, A, B, C, D, E, or F. I find myself moving between them on a daily, if not hourly basis. From what I think, sometimes I think I've got a handle on it all, and then some new tool comes out and it totally upends what I understand about this model. Yeah, enough for folks. Yep, which tasks do my teams automate? How can we have more conversations within a large language model, or maybe just, Scott, I want to have a conversation with you. Yeah, D&E, we're kind of in this deeper area. I like this. And yeah, I love this question. I'm not 100% sold on the idea that AI can teach nuances of soft skills. Yeah, really, really interesting. And I agree. I think that is a great way to quantify some things, and we are never going to replace the nuances that every unique conversation is going to have. This is really great. I love this. These votes coming in. G, we're way off the chart here on some. We're in a G, X, Y, Z category. We got a lot of people over here. So again, when I see people answering here, I like this because on the one hand, it is application driven, like we've got an LLM, we've got a GPT chatbot ready to go, and it's also a little bit like, can we talk more about this? I'm not even sure what we want to employ here, and that's where having that extra outside perspective can really help. I do want to say in this our last 30 seconds here. Those of you our great ELB Learning team is actually doing a summer of learning activities where, just for those interested in having these types of conversations, book a call with me and you actually get entered in to win an all expenses paid trip to the DevLearn conference, which hopefully everyone is going to in Vegas in November. Certainly excited to keep conversations going there, but I love the fact that our company is putting its money where its mouth is and saying these are the most important conversations to have, and we want to empower you to have these not only at DevLearn, but book a slot with me now, and let's get the conversation started, and let's get you down to DevLearn to keep the conversations going. All right, I'm right at the top of the hour. Alexander, were you doing okay on time?
Yeah, I was just going to say we're ready to wrap up and take a break before our fourth demo. So huge thank you to Scott and to ELB Learning for this awesome landscape tour.